Hey YouTube, my name is Gawd, and you're watching Gawd Cafe. So today we're going to talk about Sun in the 12th house. So if you have Sun in the 12th house, anybody who has Sun in the 12th house, just want to say first off, I'm a 12th house individual as well, so I know the struggle. But having the Sun here could be both powerful and detrimental. The reason why is that the Sun rules the consciousness. The Sun is ruled by Leo, which involves your consciousness and ego. So when you have your consciousness and ego in the house of Neptune, the 12th house, you can either be very, very spiritual or prone to lower frequencies and act, out of your nature. And you may not want to admit it because you don't want to fathom that you may have this dark side. But we all have a light and a dark side being human. However, it's what you entertain more of and take action on that determines your character. So with that said, having the Sun here, you may have experienced early on in your life, your mental health being distorted, or your understanding of it being, not all the way there, perhaps. Or perhaps, it being the only concern you have. Maybe your ego being the only thing you care about and that you're aware of. But most likely, because it's the house of Neptune, it would take you to have a spiritual awakening to, get to that point. And even with the spiritual awakening, you may still resort to lower frequencies at times based off of the lack of intention placed on yourself. So when other people place intention onto you, and what that looks like, I'll tell you in a second. When other people place their intention onto you and you don't place any, it affects you more than your average individual, being that you have Sun here. So you may, consciously dive into, certain things that you may not need to and wonder why afterwards. So what this may look like is like you might be in a relationship and your partner perhaps always wants to accuse you of something. And to your core, it's not true. But for some reason, it's like this person saying it is making it happen or become true, as if like, almost like you could be influenced, almost like on the spiritual plane, almost as a puppet. So you have to be kind of cautious with the energies around you and the intention set on you, and that's why you have to set the intention yourself. If not, people set an intention, using you. So with, like that just could be someone that's assuming something about you, and because you have no intention set, you're this plain canvas of a soul. Unfortunately, their intention set onto what they believe about you manifests in that moment because you're right there with them and you're not having an active intention set, which is actually something natural for anyone with Sun in any house. There's certain things that you're conscious about and that you make a focus. And a lot of the times we are pretty sure as to what we're trying to go get, you know what I mean? But a lot of the times 12th house individuals, there won't be any ego, So, whatever Neptune touches, it dilutes. So being that the Sun here, it's a little diluted. So it's a little watered down, perhaps. It's slower pace. It may not be accessible to you all times. Your ego may not always be accessible for you, and you may, find it a little difficult, being that you can't always have your ego, accessible to you the way you would like. Or perhaps, maybe perhaps you are in a confident, perspective and point in your life, and you can't see how perhaps you may be distorted at times. you may have to realize that this house, you know, prones you to have either or both. You know, you could be amazing or all the way, you know, toxic, you know, and it may be in your control, and a lot of times it really isn't, you know. The solution for this would be to utilize, you know, the opposite house, which is the 6th house, also the house of Virgo. So being that Virgo is opposite of Pisces, Pisces being ruled by Neptune, Neptune ruling the 12th house, you need to use the opposite energy in order to help guide, you know, how Neptune dilutes the ego. So you may have to do routine-like things, which is very 6th house. Perhaps, you know, guiding yourself more before getting into things, like setting the intention prior so that people can't set an intention onto you. And not letting them, you know, have the ability to do so, because then you kind of, you know, just give away your power to anyone. And this is why this is also known as the house of isolation, because being that the 12th house is that sensitive, whatever planet is here is just as sensitive to energy. So being that your sun is here, like I said, the sun rules ego, consciousness, confidence, all that. And so if you have it in the 12th house and you do not have any aspects to the 12th house, you may not be able to see how, you know, maybe perhaps certain things are flawed and need to improve. So you may have to start, you know, exercising a bird eye view onto yourself to try to see yourself as if you are another person viewing you in every situation that makes you unclear. You can't tap into how you would see yourself. You would have to tap into how another individual would perceive you by, you know, possessing the consciousness as if you didn't know yourself for a quick second so that you can have a clear assessment of yourself. And you have to look at it as if you're meeting yourself for the first time. What do you think about yourself genuinely if you didn't know who you were? You know, like kind of like tapping into that sort of, it feels like being an actor a little bit when in terms of turning that on. It's kind of like tapping out of your body and almost like trying to tap into someone else's body and trying to picture how they're viewing you and think about all that they do know about you versus what, you know, what they know and what they don't know. And it'll wake you up to not everyone knows who you are. You know, not everyone's gonna know your value right away. And that's normal. That's normal. That's okay. And to be okay with that so that, you know, your consciousness isn't flustered when that is not the reality that you're in, because then you will act, you know, negatively. What else? Okay, so let's talk about more positives, because I think I got the negative stuff out the way. I wanted to tackle that so that it could be helpful. So the positives. So this is how you guys are powerful, is that you can be everyone's angel. If you're in a higher frequency, you could be everyone's angel. You'll deliver messages that, you know, could kind of gag you, because you may not know how you're able to know the things that you know, but your conscious is in the house of Neptune. Neptune rules spirituality and illusion. So you're able to paint this illusion that could be therapeutic in someone's spiritual journey, you know, based off of, you know, being that tapped in that, you know, it's nothing for you. It's nothing. You don't even value it that much, perhaps, you know, and most likely that's the case in this house. It's just what you do. It's how you exist. You don't really, you know, nothing to it. You will, however, start to appreciate it as time goes on and start to look at, you know, having that bird eye view a little bit more. You'll start to see, wow, I'm affecting people positively. And then you hold on to that intention more and really do God's work. You know, you'll really do the universe's work. And, you know, that's the essence, you know, of the savior, that house, the 12th house. It really is the purest of healing energy. You know, it's where all things end up. The rest of the energies that didn't get placed in the house end up here. So this is a house that encompasses all things. It's considered the void. It's considered, you know, all of nothing and everything all at once, where anything could just, you know, this is a house where you know, you literally could create ideas out of thin air, you know, and manifest them, because that's also what Neptune brings. And then it's about grounding and deciding what is a good idea, not just doing it with anything, you know?